G'day everyone, I'm Ben from Catch Pro Australia, and today we're on the set of the Lawns Care Skull Sessions with my co-host, the Bearded Lawnsman.
Oh, g'day there.
Are you going to keep that intro in there?
Yeah, why not? Fuck it.
I don't know where I was going.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm BJ from the Bearded Lawnsman.
So yeah, here we are.
G'day.
We're not editing the cooked intro.
Should we?
Should have just started with G'day Slap Dicks.
Yeah, fucking hell. Jeez. Well, that's a good start on this cold winter's day.
Hopefully none of our new sponsors are watching this as their first episode. So. Or potential sponsors.
Yeah.
So, Beach.
Yeah.
How you doing, bro?
I'm really good, man. Really good.
That's good.
Yeah. Had a lovely dinner with some friends last night, which was nice. Down the cricket club. Good. Didn't know what to eat. Fucking, I thought that menu was shit.
Got myself a Black Angus.
Oh, fucking that's that fucking special board for me. Actually, I think I got the same steak.
Yeah, no, it's good to catch up.
Just working as normal, just trying to hustle all the dollars I can out of my customers. Yeah, picking up a few new little bits and pieces here and there. I got a bit of a lead on a guy who does council work, so potentially some subcontracting stuff might come up for us in the future, which would be nice. But yeah,
and that leads me to talk about today's topic. So we are going to look. Last week we had really awesome feedback on our Strataverse residential episode. So it was really good that contractors were able to get some good info there, and we thought we'd sort of piggyback on that.
Yeah.
Now, some of the feedback that we got is like, okay, how do we target or actually get some of this clientele? So today's episode is going to be top ways to target this particular clientele. Now, we're not gonna focus in just on Strata and Body Corp. We have categories. We've got residential, Strata and Body Corp, commercial, industrial. Then we have village, school and school campuses. We do have a special mention for acreages and tenders. So basically what we're going to do is go through and just dot point some of the ways that we've targeted these categories.
Some of them I haven't been able to get into, but I have tried to target them. So if anyone has any tips, definitely let us know, because things like schools, I've had trouble actually breaking into the schools, and that's something that seems pretty cool. Definitely on our socials, we're really looking for people to reach out more on our socials and tell us a little bit more info about their businesses too, because that will help us improve our episodes. And if anyone has any feedback on any of these topics that we do, and specifically today, just let us know. It's always good to feed that information through the grapevine. If anything, like, knowledge is not a heavy burden to carry.
And I think something else that could be worth doing, just as a listener, is if you really like some of our topics, because basically what we're doing on the Skull Sessions, it's more of a discussion to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But I think some of your more core business advice, can come from people like Gary Ashton over at Aussie Lawn Stars, or Luke Smith at the Australian Lawn and Garden podcast. And they would be able to piggyback in depth, business depth with all your numbers and all that other shit that they do.
Yeah.
Whereas, we're more or less kickstarting it, freestyling, telling you,
where we've done our thing.
The unprofessional way.
Yeah, the unprofessional way. Like, now, it's a really good time for this topic. Like, there's a lot of stuff popping up on LMCA and on different, social media platforms, just in regards to people having awesome winters. So I've seen some people saying they're having the most amazing winter they've ever had, best lead into winter, blah, blah, blah. And then I've seen some that are not so successful. They're not having the best time into winter. So hopefully, because there is a bit of downtime, you'll find that you've got a little bit more time up your sleeve, and you may be able to implement one or two of these things and potentially pick up that customer you've been chasing. But if you do, fucking let us know, because that's really cool.
And to build on what BJ was just talking about, about this being a much quieter time in pretty much most markets at the moment, probably the quietest winter we've had in 3 years. I know that we all need to keep hustling and make money, but it's just a really good time to take a step back. If you don't have the work out there, it's a really great time to just allocate a little bit of time to make sure you've got all your other structures in place, make sure your rigs are sweet, any of those types of changes that you want to make for, that September, October push.
Yep.
Now's a great time to really be getting on top of some of that stuff, whether it's just, let's say, for example, BJ's about to go out and get a spray ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet time, something that is going to allow you the capability to target works on a much larger scale.
Yep.
Any of those things, I think it's time. I've just been down at my local mower store, and they said, look, we're way quieter, but it's actually giving us a chance to restructure the shop a little bit, get some of the old equipment out, maybe upgrade some tools. So they're sort of finding positive, as much positive aspects as they can about this quiet time. Ultimately, I know you just need to earn coin.
Yeah.
We're the same way as well.
That's exactly right. In the background, my wife does all of the work with dollar values and things like that. She sat down yesterday, and I was on the phone to her most of the day. We had a chat about where we want to see our hourly /
Genitals?
day. Oh yeah, g'day, check them out. I sent her a few photos. But yeah, no, we're checking out all of our money, seeing that we're charging the right prices, things, because it's end of financial year, everything's rolling over, new prices are going out to villages, insurance is going to go up, super's just gone up to 11.5% or some shit. So my prices from last financial year are not going to be the same as this financial year, and that's a bit unfortunate, because you got to put all your prices in before.
How's this little sidebar ready?
Ooh, here you go.
You're talking about like you and Lou, work hours, you're at different locations, you're talking on the phone, how are we going to do this, how are we going to do that, and something just popped up into my head, randomly a postie rocked up yesterday, and there's a few Catch Pro things that we were collecting, and Vicky must have ordered something, right?
Yeah.
And I just happened to go upstairs to make a coffee, and I've just poked my head into the bedroom, and whatever Vicky ordered, she's putting on.
Yeah.
And it was a onesie, it's like a onesie. It's like a top that clicks in under,
like a swimsuit.
No, but like a piece of clothing. A swimsuit.
Yeah, like a swimsuit.
But a G-banger one too.
Oh, jeez.
And I've popped my head in, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? And straight away she's like, back up, motherfucker. As soon as I saw it, I was like, what is that? And she's, get away from me, I'm trying it on.
I think my wife walked into the same situation, but I was trying on a fucking mankini, and she's like, ew.
So
I didn't have to tell her to back away. She was fucking gone.
That's what happened to me during work.
Those were nice little surprises for you, Benny.
It was a great little surprise with absolutely no reward.
Yeah.
So I just went back down into the shed and just, picked up my rivet tool, and I was like, fuck you, Vicky. Fuck you, Vicky.
Oh, it was like the carrot.
I tell you what, though, everyone, I don't know if how many people we've got viewing this on YouTube, but I'm struggling big time today. I've got a couple of really bad stingers in my neck. And sitting here, I can actually feel my neck muscles fully engaged. You know the Happy Gilmore?
Yeah. The neck brace.
The neck. I feel like that's what I need.
Oh fuck! Why don't you push your chair back against the wall so you're nice?
It doesn't help.
So you're nice and
Happy, I'm your caddy.
Happy, look out!
Yeah. Is that when it actually happens? The golf cart?
Yeah.
And it doesn't hit him?
Yeah. Did I send you the video last night of some guy throwing bricks through someone's window, and he fucking runs over him with a golf cart? Some guy's just driving down and someone's throwing bricks through the window.
And the dude comes out of nowhere.
And he just fucking rolls over this guy. No hesitation whatsoever.
That actually reminds me now, this is just quick little, another little sidebar before we get into the topic. everyone will remember David Shaw. That's Shawry.
Yeah.
He did an episode with us, last year or I don't know when. You go back in the archives and check that out. He was telling me the other day that he's just on a job and someone's just like legged it out from a neighbouring property and they're like, "Oi, there's a robbery taking place." And Shawry's kind of like, "What the fuck?" Now, what people don't know about Shawry is he's like a kung fu master.
Like a lethal weapon.
And he's jumped in his rig and it was only like 2 or 3 houses up, and he's blocked in a car, which was a stolen vehicle. And he didn't sort of really know what he was doing. He's kind of approached this fence, and this dude's fucking jumped over the fence with a tomahawk and swung it at him.
Fuck.
And he's done like a little Matrix fucking kapah. And then another dude jumped out with a machete, and then the Sheila was screaming. She's like, "Fuck it, let him go. They haven't stolen anything." So sure, he's backed up, but
I wish he fucked him up.
it's not worth trying to be a hero.
Oh, no.
Not when
Like,
they got a
just
tomahawk.
in my brain.
He told me, he said, like, if his head was like 30 centimetres the other way, then he wouldn't have no head no more.
Oh, fuck.
And he's just like...
Was that local?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fucking little Eshe butters, eh?
Yeah, I think fucking, like, there's going to be a lot more too with the way things are going.
I heard one of them was wearing a Cash Pro shirt too. No. Hey, come off the grass. All right, now one quick thing before we get into the topic. A few people reached out. Everyone knows I got the Greenwork stuff. Some people have reached out privately and they're like, "Look, we're really thinking about getting into this space now. Look, which way would you go, Greenworks or Ego?" Now, I really can't tell you like a clear winner, or which way to go. But I thought I'd just sort of give everyone that was sort of pondering this situation, I thought I'd just give you a couple of key things to think about. So BJ, the first one is like if you're looking to get into this space and you think you're ever going to get a zero turn, I think you probably got to look at Greenworks because their zero turn lineup is going to be superior.
Yeah. So
just keep that in mind, contractors. If you're looking around, this actually goes for 30-inch mowers as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So if that's not going to be a factor for you, there are other parts of the lineups that you need to consider. The hedge trimmers and pole hedges, the blade speeds are going to be very different.
Yeah.
The Greenworks is going to be really, really high. Now, the Ego, I believe, like I know it's on the lower side, and we've run this stuff, right? And I think it's still satisfactory, but it is one of those things, like when you're trimming hedges, you just need high blade speed.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a really...
And look, their new commercial lineup hasn't come out yet, so that I'm pretty sure that's been rectified in the new commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Which I'd be really happy to look at. I think the new commercial, I've had it in my hands. It feels really good, and from what I've been told, like there's everything that's basically been people's concerns, like tip speed and things like that, has been addressed. So I'd love to get a hold of some of that stuff, but yeah, until that happens, I got no horse in this race. I haven't tried the Greenworks stuff.
So something else to consider about the Greenworks is the motors are down and the gearbox ends.
Okay.
And I got to be honest, I don't love that. I hate it on a hedge trimmer because it doesn't let you go flush with the hedge.
Yeah.
Even though they have a flush, it's just like another motor thing there. Yeah. I don't like the moisture as well.
Is it bulky on both sides, is it?
I don't think it's bulky. Like, I think one side is flat, but it's just something else that you have to contend with. You know, I don't know if anyone else has ever really done this, but like you kind of rest the hedger on... If you got like a really tight hedge, you can kind of rest it and then just feather it over. Yeah. And I just think the more stuff that you have down there is... I don't love it. I just don't love it. It's my personal opinion. The Greenwork stuff is fairly well balanced, but I just like the more traditional style of just having a gearbox there and your motor up here. Yeah. That's just me.
I'm actually of the same opinion. I do have to say, like the Husqvarna stuff is fine. Like I love the Husqvarna hedges. I haven't really tried with any of their other bits and pieces, but they're not really in question right now. But yeah, I do agree with you. Like the motor up one end and the gearbox and stuff down the other. That makes, I don't know, it's more feels like petrol. Like I think that's what I look for when I look into battery gear. I want the feel of petrol without the weight, but like with that feel, like that good balance, and where the one end's a little bit heavier than the other, so it helps you sort of not get so fatigued on one end.
Yeah, I mean, I said, it's balanced pretty good.
And it's again, it comes to personal preference too.
Yeah. The other thing to consider too is some of the Greenworks stuff is still sort of running with that umbilical system.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there are other units coming, but we don't have them yet.
Yeah.
Something else to consider with any of the mowers is that Ego does, I know I brought this up on a previous podcast, but just to stress it further, they do sort of, they modify those mowers to cut lower, whereas Greenworks have not really had that input yet. So just a couple of things to weigh up. And I think ultimately both brands, are winners.
Yeah, I think there's a place for everything in the market these days.
None of them have a flashlight on their stand-ons though.
Oh, I saw you actually posted that in a Stripe Live fucking thing, and then
I'm such an arsehole.
It got canned.
Of course it was a family page.
Oh, the Stripe Life one.
Ah, yeah.
Hey, they put bikini girls up and shit, and then you ask about a flashlight on a stander.
Yeah, but like you go to the beach and you see people in bikinis. You don't go out in public and see people, rim rocking fucking flashlights.
Fucking. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair enough.
It'd be cool if you did though.
Yeah. Fucking add to
for chicks, I guess.
I saw a chick shit on a wall once. That's probably the closest thing. That was in the middle of Capella Bar.
Oh, that's so nasty.
My daughter saw it as well, and she's like, "What is she doing?" And I just saw her lift up her skirt, push her ass against the wall, while her friends were just laughing at her with her kids. Like her friend took her pram for her and just watched the whole thing with the kids in the audience, and she just blasted all over this freshly painted white wall. Oh. And the shopping centre was like, she could have taken like a 2-minute walk and she would have walked directly through the doors straight into like the toilets.
Well,
and she just did not care, hey. And she was not old either. Like she should have been able to hold that.
We went to one of the waterfalls. Can't remember which one. I can't remember if it was Sanford or whatever. And there was like a woman there, and then she started speaking. She had a man's voice.
Okay.
And no issue. Like my kids kind of looked at me and they're like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "No, don't worry about it. It's all good, bro." And everything was sweet. Everything was normal. And for whatever reason, this girl, or boy, whatever it was, squatted against a tree. Like she had a bikini on.
Yeah.
I didn't see like what parts it had. I was just like, man, like in front of so many people, and I'm like, for God's sakes, like
that's
can't you just like
walk fucking 5 minutes into the bush?
Or like don't get me wrong, like I piss in public.
Yeah.
Like but I like stand up against a tree. I'm not sure.
You can't wave at people while you're fucking.
Oh, it's just like
that's fucked up.
So anyway, off that topic, man, let's get into today's topic. So this is ways. Now, I had 5 ways to target.
Pretty close.
But I'm not sure that I could really get there.
Yeah. So what do you want to start with, Resi?
Well, BJ, what we can do is we can actually start and just pick 1 point from each one and keep going back and forth.
Yeah, cool.
Or we can just work on a whole. I just think that might be a way to keep the audience a little bit more excited and engaged.
Guessing what's next.
Okay, so with that being said, we can start with residential. Now, I see residential as, and I'm not trying to demean anyone, but I see this as your main starting point for a lawn mowing business.
Yeah.
Now you can start a lawn mowing business and always target these other markets, but I always feel like residential, That's just going to be like the old faithful. That's the way that you can, start earning money, and you can have an excellent business.
Yeah, you cut your teeth in residential, and then it's not as big of a risk. I think when you're just targeting residential,
it's just easy. Just there's fucking houses everywhere, right?
That's it.
So back in my day, when I was a young whippersnapper, the easiest way to pick up residential clients was always going to be a box drop.
Yeah.
Now, we know things have changed.
Yeah.
And these days, I think your Facebook, marketplace.
Yeah.
Wait, is that wrong?
No, that's right. Facebook groups.
Talk to me. Preach.
All right. Woo. So I think realistically, Facebook groups are where it's at. So there's so many local groups now. I live in a place called Thornlands. There's at least 4 or 5 different groups that I'm a part of, and some of them go up to like 8,000 and 9,000 members. From time to time, like a couple of them have like business nights where you can promote your business.
Heaps of single mums too, eh?
Heaps of single mums that need their lawns mowed. Heaps of single dads that are looking for the same. Let's not discriminate here. We targeted those places when we first started. So I was lucky enough to come in when this shit was a thing. The groups weren't huge then, and I sort of, tiptoed through them. My wife did a lot more on that side of things for me, because there were lots of mums groups and local mums groups, and that worked really well for us. That's why when we first started this podcast, I was like, get your missus, like if anyone ever asked me, I'm like, get your missus to jump on those mums groups, because
what about the people who don't have missuses?
Just make a fake profile.
What if they've got a mister?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's men's groups out there, but
if you've got a mister, I reckon walk up behind him, kiss him on the neck, and touch him in the genitals at the same time.
Is that a tip then?
That's what I would do.
I would be the worst.
I just want someone to do that to me.
I'll do it before we...
I would be the best boyfriend ever.
I would, yeah, me too.
Anyway.
Facebook groups are really a good place to target, and you can build quite a good following in your local area, and it doesn't take a lot. Like it's very cost effective. You can boost posts and things like that, so people in your local area get sort of targeted. Even I get targeted when it's like Instagram. Instagram, I don't think is like the best place to advertise a business. I think more product based.
I think in a residential business, Facebook is the go.
I really think you can build... Well, I mean, I only did like one letterbox drop, and the rest of it came from Facebook and word of mouth when I first started. So
now, I know we're going to move on to another category, but because we have mentioned letterbox drops, I think they're always your old faithfuls.
Yeah.
But there are ways that you can get crafty with some of this stuff. So with a letterbox drop, you can actually, like certain properties, you can actually quote them and write that quote. Like you can actually design, you can have a business card and you can design like a little flyer and say like, this is the cost to mow your lawn. And you can like literally jot the price on there and bung it in their letterbox.
I remember you've done something like that when you were targeting pressure cleaning.
I did that for pressure cleaning. And it was specific to driveways.
Oh, I just sat on one of my balls. No good.
Damn it, is it in your stomach?
No.
I hate that feeling.
Still a bit sensitive.
But so I did that with pressure cleaning, and that was specific to driveways, and I just hit these like estates that were built, maybe 15 years ago or whatever, and like here's the driveways. They were really trendy at the time, but they'd started to get moldy.
Yeah.
And I could just roll up and just be like, okay, that's going to be X amount, this is going to be X amount, and leave it in the letterbox. And I picked up a bunch.
Yeah, so that's a really good idea. I don't mind the letterbox drops. Another thing you can do is reach out to your local distributor. And if you don't have the time, or if you're just starting off and you're working part-time for someone else, and it's not something that you want to spend hours walking the streets delivering, then just hire one of these companies to do it for you. It doesn't cost that much. I know there was someone on LMCA that was doing some sort of a printing thing on the side. and they mentioned it and said this is approximately how much it'll cost you to deliver 500. I mean, if you get...
See, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I just really like to know what I'm getting into. And, certain places, there's places that you see and there's fucking couches on the front lawn and shit. Yeah. I just never wanted to target any, some of that stuff is good business, but I just, had no interest in mowing for bums.
Yeah, I think, look, when I started, I would have done whatever, it wasn't something that I could really pick and choose because you really have to put money in your pocket.
But that's the thing too, I think even when I have been in mega desperate times before, mega desperate times. And, I think there's still, I still don't think you need to really go down that far.
If they're willing to pay, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, fair enough. But there's just always so many risks with those bummy places.
Yeah.
And
look, to be honest, when you first start out, if
they've got couches and furniture and shit in the front yard, it's a red flag.
Yeah, it's a big red flag.
You could be whippersnipping and all of a sudden you could end up with a H needle in the middle of your neck.
Holy fuck, that's a sign. I pulled a fucking piece of grass out of my forehead. It was an inch long and I pulled it out, and when you've got something in you and you can feel it coming from the back when you're pulling it out, fuck, I'm glad that didn't hit me in the eye or something like that. That's hectic. Maybe it could have pierced my ear. Fuck. But look, I think really when you first start out, a quote is a quote. I think even if you don't want the job, you still go and quote it because it's good experience. And I know this doesn't necessarily only relate to people that are new to the business, but as we're saying, resi is where you kind of can cut your teeth quite easily. I think it's a good place to start.
Okay, so we're going to move on to... So look, we do have more tips for residential. We're just going to switch lanes.
To old Strata and Body Corp, some of my favourites.
Now, this, as we mentioned in last week's episode, it's really difficult to penetrate. But I think... one of the best ways to really get in this is to target your Body Corp letterboxes.
Yeah.
And it's so old school, man. We do have some more tips here, but what is different about this is, I tried to talk about it last week, and I'm not really sure that the audience really understood, but you can't just start sending emails to body corporate managers because you let's say give me a body corp, for example. What's one of your strata? Sunstate Strata.
Hardly, yeah.
Let's just say you Google something and you come up with Sunstate Strata. You'll send an email there and it will just not go to the relevant person. I've been there and done that. I've sent thousands of these emails before. Yeah. I think
it's easier once you're in the system.
Much
once you've
easier.
got one, even if it's a shit small one that you don't particularly like, it's easier to build a relationship than to start one off.
Actually, the reason why I bring this up is because someone was talking about real estate work, right? Rental properties, you're getting in with a Remax or a Ray White. That is very different to this Strata and Body Corporate.
Yeah.
You can walk straight into a Remax and, target property managers, but you're not going to walk into a Body Corporate Strata management center and start selling yourself. It's just not going to happen.
You'd be surprised. Some of these Body Corporate centers are literally one person in a room with fucking folders for miles, because I was unlucky enough that I was told the story about this lady who lived in one of my villages, was also a Body Corporate, and she had 110 or 115 other Body Corps she looked after.
That's right.
And she'd sent me to a few, and Yeah.
So that's the thing about this as well, is that even if you start working for one of these strata management companies, you'll almost never liaise with them because the actual property that you'll be working at will actually have an elected committee, and there'll be a chairperson there that you will liaise with, and that is separate to the strata. The strata just manages the money.
Yeah, so when you see body corporate letterbox, just
spam the fuck out of it, man.
So,
like, put 10 business cards in there to get noticed.
But you also can put an open, don't put a sealed letter in there. So if you do, say, like an introductory letter, you can do it on your letterhead and be like, "Dear committee, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm from TBL Property Maintenance, blah, blah, blah." And then you can actually have an open letter. Don't put anything in a fucking envelope with body corporate written on it, because it probably won't go anywhere. Committees are not the body corporate. The body corporate represents the committee. And the committee are really the ones who make the decisions. So if you have an open letter, they can just open it easily, staple a card to it so they have all your information, and just do a nice little letter. And I think that is a good way.
And what I actually did was...
you blow a heap of guys, hey?
Oh, look, occasionally.
Yeah.
But what I actually do is, like, if there's 10 letterboxes in a block of units, I'll just drop a letterbox in every single one, because there will be a body corp letterbox, but usually, like, if you've got 10 letterboxes, there'll be at least 3 to 5 other members on the committee as well. So you just start spamming the fuck out of all of them. And then eventually someone might bring it up in a meeting. It's like, "Hey, I got this really awesome business card from, say Greenscape Solutions." And they'll be like, "Oh, I got that too." And then don't stop there. You go back and spam the fuck out of them again.
Yeah, I mean, the more you're in their face, the more they're potentially... And especially people with little courtyards too, because sometimes there is a conflict of interest between the contractor that does a site and the owners getting them to do work. So we have it in most of our sites where we don't actually do work for customers in the village. So it's a good place, because even if they're on the committee, like, if you do a good job in their backyard, you're always going to be like their go-to if something happens with that other contractor. So spamming the whole box, that sounds disgusting, is a good idea. I like that, Ben. I'm going to start making sure the boys spam all the boxes.
Well, that's what we always did. Like, I'm just going to give a suburb that half our audience won't be able to relate to, but anyone in Brisbane will be able to. So Cooperoo.
Yeah. Body Corp Central.
There's just these little tiny unit complexes everywhere. They might only have 6 units, but they have nature strips, they have a little garden, there might be a little common area, and I used to mow like 12 or 15 of them a day. And it'll be just streets and streets and streets of them.
Yeah.
And it's so much more common these days to see your sort of high-rise complexes, being built. Whereas 20 years ago when I was doing it, there was still very much your residential blocks. But now they're just being bulldozed.
Yeah.
These places are going up now. Moving over to commercial industrial, it's a bit of a different game, and I actually think, in the commercial scene, face-to-face is a great way. Let's say you a commercial or an industrial property, for sakes, might be a car yard.
Yeah.
Toyota. Walk straight into the office and you can be like, "Hey, can I mow your lawn?"
Yeah.
Obviously, you have to be a little bit more polished than that.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be anything. It could be mechanic workshop or something.
Steelworks.
Any commercial industrial site that has a reception, I think you can just walk straight in and be like, "Hey, this is what we target." Have a business card on hand. I think that's a really great way to sort of be cracking into that market. That is going to be something different to like a strata, where you can't just... You're not just going to walk into an office building and not know who the fuck you're talking to.
Yeah, and don't be discouraged with some some commercial sites or industrial sites, I should call them, there will be a contractor that takes care of all of the, we'll call it common property in industrial sites. Like say we've got the Port of Brisbane and we have these groups of people. So there's one crew that does lawns and it's one company. Then another company does the gardens, but then we take care of a few properties within the estate, like
that's right,
internally. Yeah. And because like it's a different game when you're doing that sort of site. These guys don't often mow as frequent as some of my customers would like, so we also do their footpaths from time to time.
They certainly ain't catching.
No, and they're not catching. So
and they're doing lazy edges too.
Yeah, they're just the flatties.
No uprights.
No uprights.
Okay, so villages and say school campuses, whether university TAFEs, any sort of, anything that fits under that category. This is where things are going to be different, and I think you can definitely start by emailing proposals off.
Yeah.
And that's where if you want to go back into the archives and have a look at our proposals episode, if you have some sort of structure like that, and you can simply Google in your area retirement villages and just start firing that thing off. Now, it may not get to the person that you need to. I would fire them off first. I'd chill for a couple days, and then you can proceed to make your phone calls.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I'm so-and-so, did you happen to receive this? Most of the time, they'll probably say no.
Yeah. Oh, it went to my junk.
Yeah, and it is very much a process. So we'll come back to that. Do we like this structure?
Yeah.
Of going backwards and forwards? So we're sort of back to residential. Now, something that I think is great to pick up residential clients
I think it's probably one of the biggest one, and it's networking.
Networking, so that covers your actual your local contractors.
Yeah.
So many times there'll be successful contractors that they just don't want a certain amount of work, or they don't want a particular type of work. And I think if you can network,
it's fantastic.
Then you could just, during hard times, I'd just ring up contractors out of the fucking yellow pages back then.
Back then today.
Or the local paper, and I would just be like, look, I'm a contractor. And, if you happen to have if you happen to have works that you just can't handle or that you're not interested in, would it be okay to pass my number to the client?
Yeah.
And, you will run into some assholes who will just be like, get fucked, kid.
Yeah.
But, look, I found 95% of the time people were just really nice.
Yeah.
And, sure, kid,
Hey, if you're making the effort to ring another contractor, and just making that contact is huge. For a business to contact another business to ask for, essentially, it's essentially the overflow. I think that's a huge plus. Like if someone called me and said, hey, if you have any extra work, I'd put them in a higher regard to, just see if I saw someone and be like, hey, do you want to do this job? I think it's pretty ballsy, and I think it's a good move. But networking. Fuck yeah for networking.
I'm just going to stay on this contractor topic because I also believe that that's how you can probably break the ice in that strata. Realistically, you could probably use the contractor network to help you get into all of these things. But I think the residential is going to be your main one.
Yeah.
And then possibly, even though I do consider the strata and body corp sort of like your premium work, there is going to be contractors that if they've just got exorbitant amounts of work. See, the way that some of these body corps will work is that the territories are huge.
Yeah.
So we might have did you tap me?
No.
Oh.
No.
I
just needed some human contact.
I thought you wanted me to stop. Sorry, everyone.
You keep talking. I'm going to check this camera. Make sure she's still got plenty of time. Keep
How long
chatting.
have we been rolling for?
Oh, no, I'm just double checking.
Okay.
Make sure everything's
So, what I was saying is you could have, a body corp that manages a building somewhere, and they might manage another building 45 minutes away, which might be well and truly out of your territory.
Yeah.
So if you've got, one of the ways that I did it was with Tyson Wilson from Executive Property Maintenance Services. That's a mouthful.
When are we going to get him on?
He's being a fuckwit, but he is a good guy. I'll get him. He's just busy. But anyway, he typically covered huge territories, but funny enough, in our actual home suburb was where he had his less amount of work. And so he would just do deals with me. Hey Benny, can you go hit this block? Hey Benny, can you go hit that block? And his crews would go out all over Brisbane.
Yeah.
So I do think that is another great way.
And I think this, you might not agree with me. Tell me if you don't. So
Are you talking directly to me or the audience?
Oh, you and the audience. In regards to networking, I think talking to your local dealers is a huge place to capitalize on, because what's the first question? Oh, how's business? And you'll be like, oh fuck man, I'm snowed. I'm absolutely bombed at the moment. That guy, that dealer has all your information, and you can walk in there and say, hey dude, like, is anyone complaining they got too much work or they need a hand? Fucking if they are, give them the card. Like, use your dealer for everything you can. Like, they want to be needed. So if that's something, like, obviously if you're going to get work out of a dealer, then you're going to keep going back to that dealer. So it's good for them too. But that's the first thing I always do when I walk into my dealers is I have a chat about work. They always ask like, what's happening in your world and things like that. So yeah, I think maybe you can hit up your dealer and just, put some cards in their pocket and say if anyone comes in here looking for work, or if they have too much work, pass this on.
Yeah, really great point. Now, another great topic to bring up is the new bad workwear pants.
Oh yes.
They're called Bad Next. Okay, now that name does not flow at all.
No.
But
My style of short.
now they're a waterproof pant, so you can get them in shorts and longs. There are a few things I want to give everyone a heads up on because it just doesn't apply to everyone. One thing is they're a short, which doesn't suit me that well because I've got really skinny pins. But all of you out there that have super sexual legs,
Yeah, I got thick elephant cock legs.
these pants, like elastic drawstring, thin material. It's also a sweat wicking material, so it's going to kind of absorb that summer moisture.
Yeah.
The other thing to note is the long pants, they do have the cuffed ankle, which is a little bit more your newer, I'm going to say metro style.
Yeah.
Some of the old fogies out there probably don't love it.
I like them, but I don't know. Like,
I'm going back and forth.
Yeah, I like
So me and Rusty, we were cuffing.
Yeah, you were cuffing for a while.
We were cuffing for ages, and then I kind of got off it, but then every so often,
Yeah,
still bust out the cuffs.
It's nice to have a variation.
But honestly, this is just a really cool industry pant for us.
Yeah.
The Bad Saviors, which I usually recommend, I think are a top-notch pant, but it is a very heavy-duty material.
Yeah.
So this is just something that is, off to the side. I think go and check them out.
Yeah, I might take some sexy shots because Benny actually got me a pair, and I think I'm going to wear them and do a few nice shots.
Yeah.
Put them up on the Skull Sessions Instagram.
They come in black, blue, and cax.
Yeah.
So don't forget to use your code, or BJ will uppercut you.
Yeah. Skull all in caps.
Okay, so back to the program. For commercial and industrial, I know this is going to sound fucking wild, and I don't know if it's still relevant, but having Gumtree ads, right? Now, just correct me if I'm wrong. Is Gumtree still relevant?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it is and it isn't. So I had Gumtree and it was fucking useless for me. But I know that you had a lot of success. One of your fucking creamiest jobs ever came from Gumtree, didn't it?
A few of them, guys. Like, I'm telling you, I had a Gumtree ad specifically for acreage mowing. Now, like, if we had a business card, we'd be like hedge trimming, you know, we list all of our services. When I did my Gumtree ads, they were all market specific. So it would just be like Greenscape Solutions specializes in acreage mowing. Mm-hmm. And like I picked up like at least 3 or 4 big ride-on jobs.
Yeah.
They were a little bit cutthroat, like, you know, there's other people advertising on Gumtree, but I found it super useful. And along with that ride-on mowing one, I picked up like this really awesome commercial place. It was a timber yard, and it had like a 1 acre paddock with nature strips and all this sort of stuff. And it came from my Gumtree ad.
Yeah.
So I do think if you've got like a manager of a commercial, you know, property, and they're like, we need to fire our guy, who do we look for? You know, they might, you know, I think it's very probable that they'll go to Gumtree and see who's offering those services. Yeah. So, look, you know, it's been...
mixed results here.
It's been 5 to 7 years, I would say, since I had to mess with this sort of stuff, but it really worked for me.
I think like Marketplace is, Facebook Marketplace is kind of fucking with Gumtree a bit.
Well,
but I still think like...
but I still think it's a different market. Like, I don't know that... I just don't know that... I mean, look, probably, yes, acreage mowing, typically you're talking about residential.
Yeah.
And that's a special mention here.
Yeah.
So yes, I think you're right, but I just don't know that like a commercial manager is just going to be messing with marketplace much.
It ought to, I do agree. Maybe not the right place. I think I don't know if you've got it down there, but I think that maybe there's other avenues. Like there is promotional things on Instagram you can do. I haven't really looked into them because I just don't see, like you would have more of I guess your marketing team would have more of an idea about what you can actually get out of Instagram.
Okay, let's go there. Now, I think with your strata and body corporate targets, I think, yes, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you can use your socials. Now, what you can actually do is very much like Catch Pro. You can have a page where, now this is not like your influencer type, right? So like put all that out of the, you know.
Like me doing the WAP in the rain.
No, none of that shit. You can have introductions and small videos. Actually, let's use Luke Smith as a little bit of an example. When he talks about coring a lawn or using a wetting agent or whatever, I think you can have a series of really small videos of really beautiful properties that you maintain. And I think even if you did have a media company, that can be a way to target, because even if you're not, like, you only need to reach the person that is, like, you might have a strata manager and they might be just scrolling Facebook one day or scrolling Instagram one day, completely not even thinking about work, and come across this really awesome mowing company and they're like, well, these guys are well presented.
Yeah.
So I do think your socials can really work in that environment. And it's also kind of leads me to another point that we have in 3 different categories here, and that's a website.
Yeah, I think with a website comes the Google, like you pop up on Google. I personally have only just got the website. We haven't needed one. We decided just to give it a crack on building our own website. For some fucked up reason, it was working perfectly fine, had all the relevant information, and then it just got taken down. So we're just looking into fucking getting that back up. But I think being in Google, because what do you do when you're looking for something? You fucking Google it. And if you're popping up first, I think for me, when I Google something and something else pops up first because they've paid for a fucking a top spot, I kind of skip past them and I go for like the first one who's legitimately what I'm after. So you don't really have to be up the top, but I think just being on that radar is a good thing.
Well, a couple of things come to mind with what you've just said, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but
better fucking not.
No, it's just a different. It's just a different sort of shade to it. The website, I think, rather than people looking for you, if you're, let's say, a village or a school, you want to approach them. You have something to refer them to.
Yeah. So
yes, it can gain its own organic traffic, but if you've got a website there, which I think also applies in the strata and body corp sector, as well as the commercial and industrial sector, there's actually a business, I don't know if they still exist, they probably do because they're fucking huge. And I used to scour the internet for body corporate contracts. And I just kept always bringing up this business, and they were called like the Strata Management Company.
Yeah.
But it was a maintenance company.
Oh.
Yeah, and that was like their whole business name was to target that whole market.
Yeah, fair enough.
And they would you could tell that they were just scraping up.
Yeah,
everywhere.
it's smart. They already had their niche in mind, and they just targeted even their business name at it. So that's pretty cool.
I think the website is great for your generic searches. I do believe that, but another coat of paint, if you will, is that you can refer people, and I don't think it's necessary at all in a residential.
Yeah.
I honestly think if you like have a website and you're talking to a residential customer and you're like, oh, have a look at my website, there's gonna be like, what the fuck? Just
and
like, my lawn, dude.
Like I said, we've only just got one. We've been pretty successful with like all of these categories except for maybe the schools, but yeah, I think there is a definite benefit to having a website, and it doesn't even have to be like a 10-page fucking...
Gosh, no.
Like, literally, our website was like a front cover page and then an inquiries section where it's just basically send us your details and it'll come straight to our email and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Like, it really doesn't have to be that much. And if you have any skills, like, you'll be able to do it yourself. Like,
my whole website was a lie. My whole website was like rambling on that we were looking after these like 12-acre sites with 160 dwellings or duplexes on them, and it was really I knew in my heart that I could manage that type of site. And I've said this before that I just kept getting asked or told like, okay, but you don't do this already. And so I just had to make out that I was doing it.
Fake it till you make it, baby.
And I wasn't ever really specifically asked for any references, at the time, which was great because I didn't really have any.
Yeah. That's something that's not on our list. That is something you brought up, references. Now, once you get into...
Good catch, BJ. Freestyle catch.
Yeah, fucking break it down. Now, once you get into one of these markets, you can use... If you're doing a good job anyway, you don't want to fucking shit review, but if you're doing good work... So I've got a few really big villages, and I just asked for it like this year. I was like, hey, we're targeting more of the work that we provide for you. Can you hook us up with a reference letter? And they were like, fuck yeah. So, I mean, that's always really good to have, and that will sort of put you in front of other people if they have no references or if they've never done that style of work. But yeah, that's a good little one that I'd like to add in.
Absolutely, well done. When we are talking about some of these markets, phone calls. Now, I think your phone calls mostly fit in kind of to your commercial, industrial, or say your village, and school categories.
Honestly, if someone called me and asked me about lawn mowing, I'd tell them to fuck off. Like,
in
just
the
for
residential
my house.
Yeah. Like, first of all, I'd be like, motherfucker, how'd you get this number?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, what's your ulterior motive?
Yeah.
So, but if you were a maintenance manager at school or a maintenance manager, at a retirement village or something, maintenance coordinator, they get calls like this all the time.
Yeah.
And if you can hunt down their details or at least get to that right department, I think calling is not the greatest first point of contact. I think having that email in a proposal is first. I do think you need to have a website. Then you can follow up with your calls, and eventually you'll hope to get a face-to-face.
The only other thing that I agree with you, but I do call, but I don't call certain parts of the company. Like I'll call, say a sales team, and then sometimes that sales team will give you a direct line straight to who the email needs to go to. A lot of times it'll be like info@Vicente or something like that. Like you'll just have a generic email that'll go to someone who's just doesn't give two fucks about what you have to say.
And also don't be scared to get like stalky. So I want to give everyone a heads up of what I've done in the past.
What stalky means.
So, and I've talked to this a little bit about this, but I'll give you an actual example.
Links to balaclavas in the show notes.
So when I first built the Catch Pro and I was trying to get distribution, I was trying to get into GA Spares, which is a power up lawn care division. So, I'm trying to figure out who works there and who's the main contact, and I really couldn't figure it out, and I managed to find someone on LinkedIn that was linked to GA Spares.
Yeah.
Now they had their email. And sort of sent them an email, and they sort of came back to me and they're like, look, this just won't be my decision. And I said, hey, can you put me in contact with the appropriate person? And they said, yeah, okay, we'll get around to it. And after following up 2 or 3 times, I realized that they were just stalling me. So what I ended up doing was I actually got the first name of the person just because they referenced this person. And I'm just going to give everyone, I'm just going to say it so that just to put the name and what I did in perspective.
Yeah.
So the dude's name was Graham Allen. And he was the man that I needed to speak to. This other person was, let's say Bill so-and-so. And his email was bill dot his name, /GA.
Yeah.
And I just was like, fuck it, I'm just going to wing it.
Yeah.
So I just had Graham Allen's name, put the dot slashes there, at GA Spares, rah, 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 and Bob's your fucking uncle.
You cheeky devil.
So you can do that. You can mess around with that type of shit.
You should have been a debt collector. You should have been a debt collector.
No. I don't know what to say. Anyway, that was just a little thing of what I did. And look, I think you got to be hustling pretty hard to sort of put that in perspective, to lawn maintenance. But I had to do something similar once with a maintenance manager that was just the most slack as fuck ever.
Yeah.
He was using a company at the time that was clearly doing a shit job, and it was just so hard to... I actually met him and got the face-to-face without getting his details. So poor effort on my part, but, I ended up, fucking around, got his email, kind of winged it.
Yeah.
Where if they're wrong, they bounce back.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're sitting there forever.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, if you kook it, it'll be like, this email doesn't exist, and then you just start messing with it a little bit more.
Dude, that's so funny. It's that's a fucking good way to... It's a good way. Never given me that tip before.
Yeah, so...
yourself.
So, calling and emails, I think obviously they're a factor. in the commercial and industrial, markets, I think if you wanted to target a Hungry Jack's or a McDonald's or something like that, I think they're sort of the types of places where you just Google them and call or send them an email or something, I
don't want to sound like a dog, but definitely if you're in the vicinity of people like Skyline or Green Options, all those big fucking programmed and shit like that, chat to them. I know some of them are a bit standoffish, but have a chat to them and see what kind of contracts they're doing. Like, just be like, oh, what are you guys up to? Where are you off to today? Blah, blah, blah. And then, go fucking undercut them. Because those big companies are charging good money. They're just not paying their staff great money. So I think there's definitely room for independents, gyms, Fox, all these guys to take a little bit of that work back, because we all know, like, they work in volume, and they do kind of push us out a little bit. It's time to take a stand.
Yeah. All right. So I think maybe if we just go back and highlight some of these areas in bulk, just so that you got the info in front of you. So for residential, I think your main points of contact and your first areas of target are
Facebook groups, contractors, so networking, huge, massive. Letterbox drops, Gumtree. We're still on the fence about that.
Tell us what you guys think.
Yeah. If you still use Gumtree, or if there's another service,
worked for me in the past really well.
There are lead services and things like that you can use that we haven't mentioned on here.
All your high pages and all. Look, I never mess with any of that stuff, but all of that stuff exists, in this market today, where we might put it 10 years ago, we might have put an ad in a local paper. All of these other things exist now. So,
and there's always new ones popping up. So it's a growing thing. So jump to Strata. So we have Strata and Body Corporate. So Body Corporate letterboxes, every single one of them has one.
Can I just jump in and say that I actually think that's the ultimate way.
You think that's the go-to?
I think, look, all of these places, they have committee meetings 4 times a year. It's not going to be a quick process unless you get lucky. But if you just keep hitting those Body Corp letterboxes, you will get on the radar.
And a good thing too with Body Corporate and Strata is there are a lot of suburbs like Cooperoo, which Ben mentioned earlier, in our area in Brisbane, where there's a fucking dense number of these smaller ones.
Anything close to like an actual CBD.
You cruise street to street. If you get 5 or 6 of them in a day, that's all you have to do to make some good money.
And as BJ said, once you get 1 or 2 of them, you might be able to get a reference. You might score, and you might end up with a strata company that manages 300 properties. That could be looking for one mower guy to cover X amount of territory. So
that's those sort of moves. They're like business changes. Like you really have to fucking just change up everything. If you get something like that, opportunities are huge. So for Strata Body Corporate, websites down there, and again, networking. Commercial, industrial, email, face-to-face. So face-to-face is the biggest one, I think, in here.
Man, you can just walk into these places.
Yeah, they all have reception.
BJ manages 6 or 7 sites that are probably maybe each site is like half an acre or an acre or whatever. And it might be just a fitter and turner factory or, whatever it is. You just walk straight into reception and be like, this place is a shithole, let me fix it.
Yeah, like in perspective, I've got one site that is, say, maybe 3 acres. They have a lot of gardens. There's fucking not even doing all the gardens, and there's 90 cubic meters of mulch that has to go in there. There has to be another 40 cubic meters of soil. There's going to be a new plant out because These commercial sites need upkeep. Like they're not the cleanest places. The fucking like trucks are running over edges and shit like that. You can do little concrete jobs. These are good sources of income, and they can yield a fucking good amount of money during winter. Like it's one of those things. So yeah, if you see, I mentioned yesterday in a post on LMCA, if you drive past something that looks neglected, fucking stop in there. The word no is not going to cripple you. Like, you walk in there, see if you can talk to someone. If not, you leave a card, and yeah, potential is endless.
If you're really good at picking up chicks, then I think face to face is good.
Yeah, picking up lawns is easy. Like, if I have enough caffeine, then I'm like real good. But if I'm like real tired, one of the things we haven't noted on here, which I think is probably one of the biggest thing that'll help you get any of these, is motivation. I think without motivation, it's hard to sort of do like focused tasks like picking up customers. And if you are struggling for motivation, I think like you have to kind of sit down and assess what things you can do without having to really be hands-on, like getting someone else to deliver your leaflets, getting someone else to manage your social media.
And if you don't struggle with motivation, a tactic that we haven't mentioned is you just grab the good old 2-stroke whippersnipper, right? Start that thing up and just rock up to a school, just walk through the school, revving the fuck out. Now, someone's going to notice you.
Yeah. For good or bad. You might get tackled, fucking hauled away.
The little white flags that go, like, there's a pedo in town.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, remember like at school and...
No, we didn't have pedos just walking through with whippersnippers.
Nah, like if there was like just a dodgy person in the area, there'd be like a white flag would go up at the school.
You know what's fucking crazy?
Someone's dad's gone crazy.
Oh, dude, it's like a student has like flipped out at school. We had one, like we were talking about it the other night with Chloe, and she's like, yeah, remember when I had that lockdown and it was a kid that was like hitting other kids with a stick, and then he like took his shirt off and was like hitting teachers with a stick and like running away from them. I could only imagine fucking teachers do not get paid enough.
How mad would it be if you could drop them?
Straight away, you'd just be like, fucking get my own stick.
Back in the day they could.
Yeah. Back in the day. Whew.
Okay, where are we now?
Oh, we're on to commercial and industrial. No, we did that. We did the face-to-face, and that's the optimum. Villages and schools, Benny.
Yeah, well, I think, look, face-to-face is another great way. Obviously, having your emails and proposals. Definitely follow-up calls, and I think you need your website for reference. I think they're the best ways to get in. I do sort of think that like things that probably don't work in this area are your socials. I just think it's nowhere near as prominent, and I'm not sure how well like the contractor networking really. I just know from being in this market, you talk to other people, and it's such big business that it's really not worth sharing.
Yeah, so subcontracting I don't think it's huge in these areas because there isn't a massive margin.
No, and I think it's just to, like I know, look, the first village, ultimately I picked this up, but I saw someone doing the hedging. I was actually just at a KFC across the road, and I just always see this place and just beautiful hedges and everything, and I literally just went up and talked to the guy. I was like, mate, how do you get into stuff like this?
Yeah.
And this is going back along. This is 10 years. And funny enough, I actually picked up the place, but I didn't pick it up off this guy. But he kind of just said like, mate, he just had a business advertised and he got a call. And that was really all. Like, he didn't really offer me any other insight.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it is luck.
I think if I was at one of my villages when I was doing them, and another mob came in, I would be really standoffish.
Yeah. It
would be different than if I was at a residential property or something like that. But I think that this work is way more guarded. There is only a certain amount of villages in a certain sector.
Yeah.
Or suburb. And so I think people tend to hang on to that.
And sometimes these villages are like say if I was going to go out by myself, I'd have one customer. Like I'd just pick one of my, whichever the highest yielding customer I have. If everything fell to bits and I could pick one of my customers, it'd be the highest yielding customer, and I'd just work there full time. And that is what some people do. They pick up one village and that's all they do. They still want to work solo. They just rely on themselves. And that's understandable because, staff can be an issue sometimes. But I think in regards to, how Ben was saying they're a bit protected, I'm pretty protective of mine.
Yeah, I know if a contractor, walked into my village, the first thing I'd be thinking is, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, well, I got the shits. I didn't even know these people were looking for other quotes, and they fucking wrangled them in at the same time I'm actually working. And the poor contractors there just waving to me. I'm like, oh, he must be quoting the backyard. And then it wasn't until I was leaving, they were like, oh yeah, we're getting other quotes. I'm like,
yeah.
Well, you fucking dogs.
So, something that we just haven't brought up at all is your actual big tenders.
Yeah.
Now, look, I don't have a ton of experience in this area, but I do know when you're looking for your tenders, I think you really need to sign up to any of the tender websites.
Yeah.
And that's where they'll all be displayed.
Local councils.
You'll have to have a ton of paperwork in order before you even start messing with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is, proper tender websites that cover huge amounts of areas. There'll be one body, like a tender website, that will cover tenders for the whole East Coast.
Yeah. That's a cutthroat industry.
It is cutthroat, and it's worked on volumes.
Yes.
So they might be mowing for 2 cents a square meter.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense, over 600 square meters. But if you're doing 60,000 square meters, then it's actually very lucrative.
Yeah, if you're towing a 10 or 12 foot slasher behind a fucking tractor, you're doing a lot of meters.
Guys, working for $27 on Bipper Nippers, that's where all of that stuff pays off. Now, before we leave today, we're just going to talk about BJ's event on the 19th of August.
Yes, so I just got a call yesterday actually from a guy representing AEG, so there's another one on board. They're happy to be a part of it. I had someone...
Did you ask him to give you Milwaukee's contact?
No, I had Milwaukee's contact.
They don't listen, do they? AEG? He's not listening to this?
I hope not. No, I don't know. But no, it's actually, it's ramping up. Now, we might have a location change. Because this is growing, we may be moving off the 40 to a council park. So that's just a maybe. It depends, because I was thinking of parking and things like that, and I didn't particularly want to map out fucking parking spots. I didn't want to have a parking fucking, waving his hand, trying to show everyone where to park and how to park. So, yeah, I was thinking along the lines, but it'll be, 10 minutes down the road. It's not going to be fucking 2 hours up the coast or anything like that. It'll literally be in the same vicinity. And I hadn't announced an address anyway. So,
yes, that's cool. We do have some notable, let's say people in the industry, influencer type people coming, so Nanky Panky's going to be there.
He doesn't want to sleep at my house.
Yeah, so we've got like tons of rope that we're going to supply if anyone who wants to tie down Nanky Panky. We do have the mowing mentor that's going to come up. That's going to be really cool to network with someone like that.
There'll be some out-of-the-box machines too. I spoke to a guy from a vegetation management place, and he said that he's potentially bringing down some of the big ground masters, some of the big batwing machines that people may or may not have been up close with. I haven't personally. Like, I've seen a few. I saw one in Melbourne, but these things are huge, so they're pretty cool. Obviously,
we're gonna have Shorey there as well. I don't think he's gonna have any sort of landscaping display, but
maybe we can do dingo races or something.
No, look, I think he's just a really good mentor for anyone looking to branch out into hardscapes.
Yeah.
Super knowledgeable dude. Local in the area, so that'll be a really good network.
Super cool. No, look, I'll put out a list of people who have already said yes. An email's going out this afternoon to a bunch of people just to get a confirmation. So I definitely know, like, some people are just so generous with, obviously it's time, it's a Saturday, so not only that, but there is some fucking sick prizes. I haven't even told you. Someone has put up like the sickest pizza oven, like left field. I'll announce all that and they'll get their mad props at the end. And look, man, it's just such a good cause, and I'm really appreciating all the good feedback I'm getting. And man, if we can do it in a park, then there's nothing stopping us from repeating this year after year and just doing some real good in the community with our industry.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that at the TBL.
It's still 2 months away, man. I wish it was coming up sooner.
No, I think we still need time to just build and I don't want to see any less than 200 contractors there.
Yeah, I need that many kisses to make it worth my while.
All right, until next week, I'm at Cashbro, he's at TBL, and we're out of time.
Peace.